Hey there, friends. Pastor Jason here. Glad you can join me for daily devotionals. We're in Joshua chapters 11 and 12 today. We're in the middle of Joshua and the Israelites conquering the promised land. Now, sometimes with all the names being thrown around, it's good to have an extra resource. Go look at a map. You might have some maps in the back of your Bible. Book of Maps usually is tucked away in the back there somewhere. There's plenty of online resources you can go check out. I'm not going to even bother listing them. Just look up Bible maps. You can do it. But sometimes it's just good to have a physical book of maps. This is an actual pretty decent resource. And from time to time, you can find it on Amazon for sale, for cheap. And it's kind of got cool little clear overlays of what is currently there versus what was there in the Bible, at times of the Bible. I'm going to share with you a couple of maps today. The first one we're going to start with is this map of, we can see where the Israelites had gone for 40 years and what side of the Jordan they had wound up on, right? So Moses had led the people, and then they would wander the desert for 40 years on the east side of things. That's where those three tribes are. Two or two and a half tribes really are going to get their portion of the land on that east side of the Jordan. And now here's this map. Now we see Joshua is going to cross over. There was the word I was looking for. I kept trying to go Jordan. That's the river he crossed. His name's Joshua, crossing over the Jordan. And you see the routes that they took to conquer the land, clear down to Goshen, which is like in the Nile Delta, the east side of the Nile Delta. So we will take a look at that today, and then over the next several chapters, over the next several days, we'll read about Joshua and Caleb distributing the land among the Israelite tribes. And I'll show you another map about that tomorrow. And let us read chapter 11, verse 1. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard the news, he sent a message to Jobab, king of Madon, the kings of Shimron and Akshaph, and the kings of the north in the hill country, the Arabah south of Chinnereth, the Judean foothills, and the slopes of Dor to the west, the Canaanites in the east and west, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites in the hill country, and the Hivites at the foot of Hermon in the land of Mizpah. They went out with all their armies, a multitude as numerous as the sand on the seashore, along with a vast number of horses and chariots. All these kings joined forces, and they came together and camped at the waters of Merom to attack Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, for at this time tomorrow I will cause all of them to be killed before Israel. You are to hamstring their horses and burn up their chariots." So Joshua and his whole military force surprised them at the waters of Merom and attacked them. The Lord handed them over to Israel and struck them down, pursuing them as far as Great Sidon and Misrephoth-Maim. Yeah, there we go. And to the east as far as the valley of Mizpah. They struck them down, leaving no survivors. Joshua treated them as the Lord had told him. He hamstrung their horses and burned up their chariots. At that time, Joshua turned back, captured Hazor, and struck down its king with the sword, because Hazor had formerly been the leader of all these kingdoms. They struck down everyone in it with the sword, completely destroying them. He left no one alive. Then he burned down Hazor. Joshua captured all these kings and their cities and struck them down with the sword. He completely destroyed them as Moses, the Lord's servant, had commanded. However, Israel did not burn any of the cities that stood on their mounds except Hazor, which Joshua burned. The Israelites plundered all the spoils and cattle of these cities for themselves, but they struck down every person with the sword until they had annihilated them, leaving no one alive. Just as the Lord had commanded his servant Moses, Moses commanded Joshua. That is what Joshua did, leaving nothing undone of all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So Joshua took all this land, the hill country, all the Negev, all the land of Goshen, which is the east side of, again, the east river delta of Egypt, right? The east river delta of the Nile. The Arabah and the hill country of Israel with its foothills, from Mount Halak, which ascends to Seir, as far as Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon at the foot of Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and struck them down, putting them to death. Joshua waged war with all these kings for a long time. No city made peace with the Israelites except the Hivites, who inhabited Gibeon. All of them, we read about that just last week, all of them were taken in battle, for it was the Lord's intention to harden their hearts so that they would engage Israel in battle, be completely destroyed without mercy, and be annihilated, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time, Joshua proceeded to exterminate the Anakim from the hill country, Hebron, Debir, Anab, all the hill country of Judah and of Israel. Joshua completely destroyed them with their cities. No Anakim were left in the land of the Israelites, except for some remaining in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. Just so you know, the Anakim are the giants, right? The very large people. These are going to be that's in the land of Philistia, right? They wind up becoming Philistines. So Joshua took the entire land, in keeping with what the Lord had told Moses. Joshua then gave it as an inheritance to Israel, according to their tribal allotments. After this, the land had rest from war. Chapter 12. The Israelites struck down the following kings of the land and took possession of their land beyond the Jordan to the east, and from the Arnon Valley to Mount Hermon, including all the Arabah eastward. Sihon, king of the Amorites, lived in Heshbon. He ruled over the territory from Aror on the rim of the Arnon Valley along the middle of the valley, and half of Gilead up to the Jabbok River, the border of the Ammonites. The Arabah east of the Sea of Chinnereth to the Sea of the Arabah, that is the Dead Sea, eastward through Beth Joshimoth, and southward below the slopes of Pisgah. Og, king of Bashan, of the remnant of the Rephaim, lived in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Selica, and all Bashan up to Gersherite and the Maccathite border, and half of Gilead to the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. Forgive my pronunciations. Moses, the Lord's servant, and the Israelites struck them down, and Moses, the Lord's servant, gave their land as an inheritance to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh. That's the right side, the east side of the Jordan. Joshua and the Israelites struck down the following kings of the land beyond the Jordan to the west, from Baal-Gad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which ascends towards Seir. Joshua gave their land as an inheritance to the tribes of Israel according to their allotments: the hill country, the Judean foothills, the Arabah, the slopes, the desert, and the Negev of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai, which is next to Bethel, 1. The king of Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Gezer, 1. The king of Debir, 1. The king of Geder, 1. King of Hormah, 1. The king of Arad, 1. The king of Libnah, 1. The king of Adullam, 1. The king of Makkedah, 1. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tappuah, 1. The king of Hepher, 1. The king of Aphek, 1. The king of Lasharon, 1. The king of Madon, 1. The king of Hazor, 1. The king of Shimron Meron, 1. The king of Akshaph, 1. The king of Ta'anak, 1. The king of Megiddo, 1. The king of Kadesh, 1. The king of Jokmeam in Carmel, 1. The king of Dor in Nephath Dor won. The king of Goim and Gilgal won. The king of Tirzah won. The total number of all kings, 31. We're going to leave it there. There's a lot of names. If I mispronounced a name or I tripped up on one, you'll forgive me. I'm sorry. The Lord is faithful to the Israelites, right? Faithful and powerful, mighty indeed. And we should not forget how the Lord and Moses told the Israelites that they were going to go in and conquer the land, not because they were righteous, but because of how unrighteous all these people were. Okay? And that's why, we might have hard feelings about, the fact that they're wiping out these people. And we need to remember they were completely unrighteous. They were completely sinful. And when we think about today, praise Jesus that we have his son. There's no one so far off that they can't come to know Jesus. They can't be redeemed. They can't be reconciled to the Lord and redeemed, restored to faith in him through his son. And in that, we have all sorts of power. You and I get to be a part of that in people's lives, and that we can take spiritual kingdom. We can take back land, spiritual land in the hearts of people from Satan and bring it to the Lord, bring it to glory to him by simply thanking him, talking about him, having his praise on our lips in hardship and in pain and in turmoil, realizing our hope is not here. And it's going to adjust how we act during those difficult times and hopefully draw others to know Jesus. I hope that you are blessed this week. I hope that you will be a blessing. Go share your faith with someone today. Don't make gigantic plans for the whole week. Just go share them with someone today. Be a blessing. I hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow as we continue in Joshua.